Hey there, welcome to the Franchise Revolution, your YouTube resource for everything you need to know about franchise ownership. And if you've been a fan of our channel for any amount of time, you've probably heard me talk about the senior care industry. Right? We've had a couple of videos on the senior care industry, breaking down the senior care industry and talking about some specific franchises within that industry. And if you liked what you saw, and if you liked some of the economics of it and the way that the business worked, but you weren't necessarily sold on the idea of being in the senior care space, I've got an industry that may be right up your alley. And the reason is it works just like the senior care space. Works almost identical. So a lot of the numbers are exactly the same. A lot of the initial investment is the same. A lot of the structure and some of the issues that you face in the business are very similar, except this industry deals with people on the opposite end of the age spectrum. We're going to be talking about childcare today and different childcare franchises, pros and cons, costs, potential revenues, etc. But first, a couple introductions for you. My name is Jason Revere. I am the founder of Revolution Franchise Brokers. What we do is we help everyday people achieve their goals of becoming business owners, most of which for the first time. We help them cut through all the noise and all the BS and all the marketing spin from the franchises to align them with the franchises that can give them the opportunity that they're looking for to accomplish those financial and lifestyle goals. If you want to learn more about what we offer, visit our website, revfran.com, and you'll be able to get in touch with us right there. Enough, though, of the intros. Let's get into the topic of the day, which is going to be, as I mentioned at the top of the program here, child care franchises. And I want to make sure that I set the stage for this properly, okay? This does not mean that you, the individual owner of a child care franchise, are going to be sitting there babysitting a kid from 9 to 5 or from 5 to 9, or hanging out with them all day long like Mary Poppins style and giving them a spoonful of sugar to help the medicine go down. That's not what you're going to be doing, okay? And you're not necessarily going to be the one that's leading any sort of classes if it happens to be in the education space. That is not what's going to give you the success that you're looking for and give you that feeling of ownership, right, where you are a business owner. First scenario there that I described is really just owning a job. Sure, there could be times where you've got to step in, but that's not the ideal scenario, and that's not what we're going to be talking about today. This is really no different than building any other types of business. So building a big childcare business is not going to be really much different than building a big home services business, or, as I mentioned again at the top of the show, building a senior care franchise. There's going to be a lot of the same things that go in there. You've got to be strong with leadership. So if you're taking notes, write this down. I must be strong at leadership. I've got to be strong at hiring a good team, motivating, training, retaining those high quality, high performance team members. That's what's going to be the thing that sets you apart, right? That and a lot of the other stuff that we're going to talk about today, like marketing the business, getting the client acquisition systems really running strongly. But none of them are going to be much different than if you owned a roofing company, or if you owned a closet redesign company. They're all going to be the same things. It just depends what industry do you want to be in. When you hang your shingle, what feels the most like you, and what kind of impact are you looking to impart onto your potential clients, and the impact that you're going to make in your community. That's where childcare can really become an emotional driver for a lot of people out there, because there's a million ways you can make money in this world, as we all know. But hell, you could go out and sell drugs, as I mentioned on other videos here. But that's not going to be the most life-fulfilling thing that you do. And if you feel called and drawn towards the childcare industry and giving back to the children of your area, this could be the type of industry that you want to get into. But we need to know a little bit more about the industry. So some just statistics for you, some facts here for you. One of the reasons to get into any industry is the demand, right? If the demand is there, the people will come, the business will come, potentially, right? But in this case, it is a really strong demand. There's a strong demand for this type of work, right? You got working parents that are, and let's face it, you don't really know what to do with your kid, especially if they're not in school yet. And even if they are in school and you're working and you can't pick them up until after 5, maybe 6, 7 o'clock, whatever, you're going to have to find something out. You're going to have to figure something out. And that's where a good childcare franchise can come into play, because you've got roughly 60% of children under the age of 5 are in some form of non-parental care. That's a big percentage of the population, right? Just think about how many kids there are. There's a ton of kids. 60% of them have to get some sort of non-parental care. Okay? Big, big demand, right? And it's only going to grow because guess what? Population's going to grow. People like having kids because they like doing the stuff that gets you kids. Am I right? All right. All right. It is also a very recession resilient franchise. Nothing's recession proof, right? If everybody gets laid off and nobody's working and bread is $1 million a loaf, they're not going to be prioritizing childcare because you know what? They're going to be homeless. They're going to be there with their kid anyway. So it's not, nothing is economic proof, right? But this one is pretty resilient. It's just like the pet industry, right? I mean, how people spend more money on their pets than maybe the kids. Neither here nor there. But if people are forced to choose, they're gonna lean towards spending their money on the care of their children, right? It makes sense. And also, it can be really bolstered by an economic turndown because now mom has to go to work or dad, or the stay-at-home dad has to go to work because they have to have a 2-income family in order to pay for the mortgage they couldn't afford in the first place. So that leaves you in a good spot, right? I mean, strike while the iron's hot. The iron is hot during recessions. You got both parents having to go to work to make the numbers work on their household. It can provide that added boost of demand for your product and service. Reason number 3, it is a very fragmented industry. Just think about it. Name the top childcare, either facilities or in-home childcare providers in any area that you're in. Let's say you're in Chicago. Think about it. Can you name 3? Probably not. The reason is it's so fragmented. You know, what would you do if there weren't people out there advertising? I guess look on Craigslist, right? If you just moved to a new area, well, what are you going to do? I don't recommend looking on Craigslist, by the way. You're going to find some wackadoodles. And so it is a very fragmented industry, which means, in the reason, strip away everything, okay? All the name brand nonsense, right? It means that the people that have a strategy for attracting attention, which is all marketing is, attracting attention, and then turning that attention into revenue, which is what sales is. If you have a strategy to do that, you're going to be better than all of your competitors. That's why a fragmented industry is one of those guiding principles when you're looking at a franchise. If you see a fragmented industry, it means that there's an opportunity for you to go in there and really dominate, become the market leader. Right? You can steal market share really quickly, not having to try to invent market share by introducing a new product or service that people don't necessarily know they need. Like I've seen some franchises out there like delivery laundry service, right? They're trying to create a need. They're trying to create an industry. That's not what you're doing with childcare. You're just trying to take the need that people already have for your service and just take market share. Fragmented industry is one of the reasons to get into a franchise, and it's a really strong one. Okay, enough about that. There's a couple models when it comes to owning a childcare franchise, okay? And the investment level is really going to dictate which direction you want to go. So understand that. You got model number 1. This is where you've got a facility. Your Montessori schools, any of your like daycare facilities that are brick and mortar that people come to you. Those are going to be much, much higher on the initial investment. You're talking between $400,000 $2 million for one of those types of franchises, okay? That elongates your payback period, but it also does give you something tangible that you can point to, right? Sometimes there's that pride of ownership where you've got a facility, it's got your branding on the outside of it, and you can show your friends. It's pretty cool, right? Are you willing to pay for that coolness? Maybe. It depends on how much money you got, right? But again, you're talking between $400,000, $2 million, maybe $5 million, depending on really the size of that facility. It's a pretty hefty investment. Royalties, all that stuff's all basically the same across the board. That's really going to be number one. You've got the in the home or the in facility where you've got your own facility. People are coming to you to drop their kids off. You're providing education. You're providing meals a lot of the times. You're providing entertainment. You're providing after school care. All of these things are happening in your building. Okay, so between 400,000 and about $5 million or so. On average, you're talking just under $1 million to get one of these types of franchises open. Okay, that's path number one. Path number two is where you're going to them. Okay, you're going to the house to take care of them. That means you don't need this huge brick and mortar. All you really need is a little, small, modest executive suite in one of those, executive suite type buildings, so you can do what your business is really there for, which is why I said it was just like the senior care industry earlier at the top of the show. You're a staffing company. That's really what you are. That's all you really are. You are a human resources juggernaut. Interviewing, doing background checks, hiring, training, retaining, making sure that they're doing a great job, following up on them, holding them accountable. People respect what you inspect, remember? So that's really your role when you own either one of these types of businesses. But the second path, where you're going into somebody's home, that's really what you are there to do, is to hold those folks accountable because they represent your company. Or in people's homes, make sure they're not stealing stuff, breaking stuff, or doing anything that you would want to see on a nanny cam, because that's going to happen. And so that's really what you're going to be doing. Investment on those ranges pretty much between about 35,000 on the real low end. By the way, avoid those franchises. That's just too small. They're trying to sell you a bill of goods that really isn't going to work for you because you're investing too little. You're going to run out of money and maybe out on the streets, huddled together with your government cheese, as I talked about earlier. Anyway, now there, go there. So really, for a good one, about $65,000 to $70,000 on the low end, all the way up to about $115,000 to $100,000. So let's call it $70,000 to $100,000 to get the doors open and have enough working capital to keep you solvent while you're building your business up. Also depends on how you pay for things like liability insurance, things like that. You may want to prepay those to just take them right out of your SBA loan because it's there anyway. That is going to influence that immensely. Also, the amount of fuel that you pump into your business by the way of advertising dollars is going to impact that item 7 on the FDD, which is talking about the initial investment, to get you closer to that $150,000 mark. Okay. Let's talk about the first one, right? The in-home they bring them to you facility, right? You gotta have some sort of curriculum. You gotta have some licensing that you gotta do. A lot of moving parts. Okay, it's a great business model for those that have the financial wherewithal to make it happen. If you want to do it, there's some really good ones. We can help you do that. But today we really want to focus on the one that's going to be the most common, one that makes actually more money. And it's one I tend to like, right? If you're going to do something in an industry and it's got a lot of the same things, which one's going to make the most money for the least amount of investment? That one is going to be your in-home childcare franchises. And there's several of them out there. We'll talk about some of them in specific as we go through this business here, but that's really what's going to be driving this thing. How much revenue can you make? Okay, this business, I want to make sure I make this very, very clear. This business is not a get-rich-quick scheme. This is not going to be a day one, you're cash flow positive, right? It's not going to happen. Okay, you're doing micro transactions pretty much across the board. You're talking about $35 an hour for a staff member, give or take, on average, to go to a person's home, watch Junior for a couple hours or 5 hours or 10 hours or however long that they're contracted to be there. It's just like having a senior care franchise, right? So you got to have a lot of clients in order to hit those big numbers, right? If you're trying to replace a $40,000 a year income for yourself and maybe your husband or your wife makes enough money to support the family, you could probably get to that level pretty rapidly. But if you're trying to replace a 200 to 250,000, maybe $500,000 income, you're gonna have to play the long game with this and just be okay with taking a bit of a bath on your personal income at the front end. Because what are we doing here? We're not doing this to make money. We're not doing this as a get rich quick scheme. Doing this to build equity. That's what a business is really designed to do. And it's also what these types of franchises are really great at, is to build equity. Okay, you're also going to be building cash flow, okay, along the way, and you will eventually build it to the point where it's going to supersede the income that you're making, unless of course you are LeBron James making $50 million a year and you're just using this as an investment strategy, etc. Blah blah. That's not who we're talking about. Most people who buy a franchise, they need to have some income coming in, right? And so how are we going to get there? It's about doing those daily disciplines and just being patient, but being aggressive. That's how you do it. So as your business grows, retaining those clients and building upon them is really critical. You're going to have churn. People are going to either age out of what you're doing. You're just going to lose people because maybe, mom's now able to work remotely or dad's able to work remotely, so they don't need the child care. That happens. It's about building and building and building and building. You get that flywheel effect going, and you can get there are franchises out there that have the track record of million plus top line revenue with pretty substantial gross profit and therefore net profit potential to them. I know it sounds like I'm rambling, but I want you guys to understand what these types of franchises do and what the economics are. So as long as you can be patient with the income, the cash flow coming in is good. Again, be a great type of franchise for you. But here's the best part. Talked about before, you're building equity. You're building a sellable asset is what you're doing. Okay. A lot of people talking about real estate and all that stuff. Real estate's great. Real estate's amazing. But let's get a cash flowing entity that can provide income for me and my family. Eventually, if I can stick with it for a year or two, now I'm getting income from this business that is as much and or more than I was making at my job. And now I've got something I can sell and something that's really valuable that can trade on a pretty large multiple of net profit. Why? Because you have recurring revenue. A business that has recurring revenue is more valuable than a business that relies on the Groundhog Day kind of principle, where every day is the same. You're starting every day at zero. You got to build it back up just to start back at zero the next day. Those, like I mentioned at the top of the show, like those roofing type businesses, right? My background, that's where I came from. Those are great businesses. They make a ton of money, but it is Groundhog's Day. This is not. This is a recurring revenue model. So every day you wake up and you have income coming in. You got people out. Have to be there. All good things. And business buyers love to see that. They love to look at the books and say, oh boy, now we can see historicals that we have 80% retention rate of our clients over a 6-month, 8-month, 10-month, year-long trajectory. Now we can start planning and we can look at things from a cash flow perspective, not starting at zero, not saying, hey, this is all blue sky, goodwill, whatever you want to call it. This is a real tangible asset. It has real income coming in. So when I buy this business, I can step in knowing I've got a seller's discretionary earnings of X. I want to make sure I don't say numbers here so the FTC doesn't come knocking on my door. But you can do it. And if you can stick with it, play that long game, this is a business. It can really pay off in the end while having those smaller wins along the way to getting you to the point where you passed and replaced and or passed your income from your job. Okay, that's about it. Who's good for this type of franchise? Talked about it at the top of the show. You should probably have some sort of connection to children, some sort of love for and desire to impact the youth in your community. That's number one. Number two, somebody that really is financially motivated, because you've got to get out there and hustle. You're going to have to go out on those daytime talk shows and talk to the the moms and the dads out there on those locally produced daytime type talk shows. You got to have the maybe even YouTube videos that you're putting together with the help of the franchisor. Going to the child expos. Got to get out in the community. And if you're financially motivated, you're going to do that because it's going to get you out of your comfort zone. Right, like Jerry Seinfeld says, what's the number one fear is public speaking. Number two is death. Right? You've all seen the joke. That is what you're going to have to be good at. You're going to have to get out there and speak in public. You're going to have to engage with the public, maybe one-on-one, one-on-many. I prefer one-on-many. Going to those Chamber of Commerce meetings, and talking to those people who could feed you potential business, school corporations, all your referral sources, large employers, right? Going there and getting a captive audience, being able to talk to the HR people there and saying, hey, listen, you could give this, make this one of your things that you offer to your employees. Talk about a benefit, right? We all talk about health insurance, all the other nonsense out there. What more tangible benefit is there than my child's care could be part of my package at my work? Wow, cool, yeah, right? That ain't gonna happen if you don't get out there and do it. So again, financially motivated. That's a person that they want to have. Number three, leader. And this is somebody you need to be good at leadership because you're going to have a lot of employees. Okay, the more employees you have, the more revenue you're doing. So if you're financially motivated and you got the passion for the kids and you don't have leadership, go somewhere else because this is just not going to work for you. Got to be hiring. Got to be ABC, baby. Always be recruiting. In this type of a franchise, that's important. You got to be recruited every single day. So a strong leader, strong recruiter, somebody who's a good salesperson. Because you're not selling widgets to people. You're selling the dream of coming to work for you. You're selling the dream of your company taking care of your clients' most important people in their lives, their children. So you got to be great at sales. You got to be charismatic. And again, if you're not perfect in any of these things, you at least have to have the ability to learn them and to buy into the training that you're going to be given and also buy into the value that you're providing to your community. You got all those things taken care of. This could be a good type of franchise for you. Okay, enough about that. Make sure I got all my notes here. Okay, so that being said, let's talk about, I mentioned I was going to mention a specific franchise here, okay? I recently met this franchise. It's a great franchise as far as I can tell. I don't know everything just yet. I will continue to vet them. If I come across any red flags, I'll make sure to tell you all on this channel here. But wanted to highlight them at least for just say, hey, listen, I think this could be a franchise for us. Not really ready to put the whole full stamp of approval, but here it is. The franchise is called Oliver's Nannies, okay? You might be thinking, well, Oliver must have been the person who founded this company, right? You'd be wrong. Her name's Karen. It's called Oliver's Nannies because she had a dog she loved, and it was just the sweetest little thing in the world, unconditional love. She loved it so much that she named her company after it because she believes her company is going to provide unconditional love to the children in her community. And so it's called Oliver's Nannies. One of the reasons that I love asking franchisors about the story, the origin story of not only the name, but how the franchise gets started is you learn so much about the culture. And Karen, make sure, check on Kathy. Kathy is her name. And since we do these things in one take, we're not going to cut that out. Kathy at Oliver's Nannies. She founded this company, and it really came out of need. She was looking around. She needed childcare. She went to Craigslist route. You find a bunch of weirdos that way, right? If you're fishing in a pond full of weirdos, what are you going to catch? A weirdo. And so she was like, all right, I got to figure this out. She saw a huge need, but she owned a franchise. Guess what kind of franchise she owned? Ding, ding, ding. Senior care franchise, right? Think about the way the models work. She owned a senior care franchise. She actually owned several of them and loved the idea of franchising. Saw this as a huge need. There was that gap in the market. She saw that there was this need and thought, you know what? I can do this. I know what franchise ownership's like. I know what being a franchisor is like. She also works for franchisors. Why don't I just do this? So she did. Created it. She built all of the systems, processes to get a bunch of business. Her flagship location in 2023. By the way, not a financial performance representation of any kind. Anecdotal. I think I'm right. FTC, if you're listening, not saying any of this on purpose. But if I remember correctly, $1.7 million top line revenue in the year of 2023. Took a little bit of a step back. They had a good answer for because they started franchising and focus, right? Your energy flows where your focus goes, where your energy flows, or whatever the Tony Robbins saying is. They took their eye off of the ball of their actual corporate unit growth of that to focus on franchising of it for about a year or so. Took a little bit of a step back in revenue, but they're back on track now, which they do report this in their item 19. So I'm not telling tales out of school. And so they're back on track now. But again, you want to follow somebody, follow people who are successful. She's successful at this. She built a really successful thing with the experience that she had in franchising from a franchisee and a franchisor. Those are good things to look for in a franchise partner. They've got 20 locations. 12 of them are open, so there's still plenty of greenfield in this franchise. You'd be looking at an initial investment of between 60, what are we talking here? 60 some odd thousand all the way up to about 115. Just like I said earlier on, that's kind of the average that you'd be looking for here. This is a model that does require you to have one of those executive suites. So just account for rent of about $500 to $800 a month to get into one of those suites. You're going to be doing the interviews there. You're going to be conducting those screening tests and all of the other stuff. And it gives you a professional address. So when you go to meet with people, talk about the children, they don't think you're a Craigslist weirdo who's operating out of your mom's basement. So you're going to have a professional location. All the investment goes to that. It's going to take you some time to get cash flow positive. That's just the nature of the beast. But every client that you get gets you one step closer. And every time you take one step closer to building a business that is a real sellable asset. So that's Oliver's Nannies. If you want more information on them, we'd be happy to help you understand more about that particular franchise. Again, that's not what we are. We're not franchise salespeople here. We're just here to give you non-BS reviews of different franchises, franchise industries, and help to work with you, if you decide to choose us to help you, to just cut through the noise. Let's find you a good franchise. If childcare isn't your thing, by the way, it's not for everyone, but it might be for you. If it is for you, we'll be happy to help you out. And if it's not for you, happy to help you out. That's going to do it for today's program. I think I've gotten all my notes done. My producers will tell me otherwise. But appreciate you sticking with me through the end of this video. If you like this video, please subscribe. It makes all the difference in the world. I love seeing those little subscriber things come up. I get it on my phone. It makes me super excited to see it every time. So if you liked what you saw, please go ahead and subscribe. I won't wear you out, I promise. Leave a comment on here. If you'd like me to do any other industry, if there's another industry you'd like me to do, services, laundry, you talk about laundry, right? I could give you write a book about laundry. Whatever. QSRs, quick service restaurants, anything at all. If you see something you want me to do a video on, please put it in here. And we'll take all of those considerations in and build the best video that you've ever seen, I'm sure. Anyway, that's enough rambling from me today. Thanks for joining. Be excellent. We'll catch you on the next one.